PhD student from Center of Creativity and Innovation from City University, here. And this talk is part of my PhD research that I've done, and I presented in a creativity conference in Krakow, and it was the best TED award of the paper. So it's not as much as what I expect, but I got this, and I'm happy to share what I found with you. So, the topic is actually my research is more about how environment and more physical environment could change people's creativity during the design process, but through the different emotional states that people have is the whole topic. But the whole thing, the context, I want to share with you the context of my research, and then a first study that I've done here, and then the lessons I learned and future work that this future work is some of them already done, and some of them for the future. I'm in the third year now. My important focusing is in these three area that I wanted to connect environment and creativity, but through emotion. There are a lot of research about creativity and environment and emotion and creativity, but there is a gap between these three in most of the recent research. So I found it very interesting that found how people feel in different environments, and then find that how it affects on their creativity levels. And it's more about people that have the understanding about design and design process, not the old people. So I have a very quick explanation of every things that I use here. The creativity, as you know, is the novel and useful product of people's mind, and emotion is a change in the state of mind in response to an external or internal stimuli. And the environment is, in my project, is more focusing on physical spaces. But the first one is I focus more on the climate and the factors that actually between the group in creativity session this happen, and the interaction between people. So for the first year, I did a lot of literature review and did go through different spaces and found different spaces from different creative people, from scientists, from artists. And I found it very interesting to know each of these people, Albert Einstein, Coco Chanel, Pablo Picasso, and Steve Jobs, all of them, and there are more and more, but all of them have very personal spaces to work. And it's very interesting to know that they made their own spaces very personal for themselves. As you see that Steve Jobs is if you go to the shops of Apple, you see the minimal design behind that. So the minimal design is something that is the background of his idea behind every design. So his environment is more personal, and you can see no furniture, it's just only one light. You can see the Picasso that see the different aspects of one feature, full of, the studio is full of painting, full of different objects on the desk, and it's kind of personalizing the whole space for themselves. And I went to the group spaces, worker spaces, and I found some things very interesting in IDEO or Google that make places that very special for people to work and together, and even as an individual can work, or as a group or team they can work, they can talk, chat together. These two is from IDEO, and these are from Google. And you can see that the work is more like a fun for them. they are very serious in the work, but because it's combination of fun and playing with them and different environment for them is ready, so they used to be like work in a high productivity, but it's not all the time. It's because it depends on the people's mood, emotion, and personality as well. And I want to just you imagine that you work here. I'll show you some spaces, and imagine in the morning you wake up here, and then you wake up somewhere, and then move here to work, okay? And then tell me, what do you feel if this is your workplace? And you should go through the, ladder, going through that, and then started your work from here. Have in the nature, nice, view. And what do you feel? Scary? Yeah, it's different for different people. It's interesting for adventurous. Relax? Free. 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 Oh, trapped. Yeah, it's different ideas. See, different people have different emotions through different places. Look at this. It's like an aquarium, and it's the bed, and imagine that is your workplace. Going to work here, and you have the brainstorming and the group sessions here, and you can rest here, and you can live actually here. What do you feel about here? And you can see the fishes here. Yeah, it's very interesting, because in my experiment I used some things overhead of some people, and it was very different for different people's reaction. Some people said, it's very nice, I love it, the shadow is nice. And some people said, oh, can you just move it from, over me? And I just move it outside too, then they relax. So people are so different to react to the environment. Maybe our memory connects to like our experience before and the memory that I have from before, and then find that what is the feeling about this environment. And this is a workplace, again, in the nature, that people just working from here. And the idea behind that is a workplace to make people more connected to the nature. And it's like they could see the seasonal changes, spring, winter, autumn, and it's like a box, glass box. And this is very like traditional, like cubic workspace. That is, you can see the difference and how you feel when you put yourself here or in different spaces. So, actually, the two first that I show you, these two are not workplace, they are some hotels, and this one is workplace. But I wanted to show you that how you feel about that. So after all of that, I started to find, okay, which kind of physical environment affect on people, and I go through a lot of literature, and I found some physical like features that is very important, like nature or view of the nature, or having like 3D objects is in general effect on people's creativity, is in the field of connection between creativity and environment, but not emotion. And then I designed a study that I asked people to redesign a supermarket car park service from the to taking shopping bags to the car, from customer making payment at checkout to the placement in the car and put their bags on the actually in the car. So it's the whole process of design that I put some groups in different places, and I made 2 different places. That is, one of them is, and the participants were like students that familiar with the whole of them familiar with the creativity techniques, and oh sorry, why it's shit, it doesn't work here. Because it was from Mac and it's transferred to that.
Is it video?
No, it's because from here I transfer it to this, so it doesn't show in the proper way, and it just cuts some things, and it's just going. I couldn't change it because of the time. Sorry for that.
Can you summarize it for us? What you
Yeah,
want to show
sorry,
us?
because it's, I said, okay, participants shouldn't be here, but I wanted to show you the spaces I made, but it's going with this, oh God. So, I designed two different spaces based on what I studied, and it was, one of them I called them positive space, and one of them I called them negative space. And in terms of that, how the environment reflect the people's emotions based on what I found from literature. It was, for positive space, I put some, this is my positive space that I designed. This is full of pictures, that is very colorful pictures with animals and very nice animals or nature, or the pictures of some chocolates and foods and things like that. And then I use some special 3D form, because it's important that we have some 3D form objects in this space. And I make them high ceiling a bit lower to make more friendly. And then I use the glass, because glass connects the people to the nature, and it was trees over there. And then I use some texture, and I use the view on the nature and warm colors. I use the yellow and different height in my furniture. You can see the bed here with a lot of cushions, that people have different position of using this furniture. And like I said, different postures, and the natural materials that is more important for people, that I couldn't use it because it should be wooden, but I didn't find them here, so it was hard to me to use the wooden one. So I keep with this, and in the negative space, I'm going with the opposite way of this. So I close the curtain, no nature, no glass, and no 3D format. I make the space very tight for people to, feel a bit not comfortable, not comfortable, just feeling that it's not a very open space compared to here that is very open. So I put everything opposite of this, and I put some pictures of natural, neutral color of war and some symmetry, and some sad photos in on the negative space. I don't know if I have it here or not. It's just completely changed the formats. I'm so sorry, I couldn't find the negative space, but anyway, maybe in the other slide I can find it. But I made these two spaces, and then I used these people as a group that I had a test, view test, to make them equal as the style of problem solving, and it's called view test. And then I gathered them together and put them in some rooms to have that experience, that design process based on 4 main creativity techniques that I tell you later. But based on what sorry. So, it doesn't show here, but here I explain, imagine here explaining 4 techniques of creativity. The first one was data gathering. The second one was brainstorming, that is open-ended brainstorming. The third one was constraint removal, that people should, find the constraint from the problem and then try to diminish or make it less for that problem. And then the fourth one was exactly like this, called desktop walkthrough. That is people use some plasticine or some Legos to show a 3D form of what they think about the solution of the design. And then people do the experiment. For each technique was 20 minutes, and then they did it, and then I get the data from them, and then based on what is important for creative climate, as I read in literature, that is these factors is very important for climate, that is called climate dimensions, that is challenge, freedom, idea time, dynamism of the group, idea support, trustness, playfulness, conflicts, debates, and risk-taking. And I asked, based on what people done in the two spaces, I asked two raters to rate these idea by watching the movie and the record of the whole like groups, okay? For each technique. So 4 techniques, sorry that this slide doesn't show, 4 techniques, and shows it's for each dimension. And then I found the result shows that the positive space, here is positive space, and here was negative space. But I only used the red to make it a bit equal, but this is the like the picture of score and sad pictures. So in general, in the positive space, people made more ideas than the negative space in terms of brainstorming and constraint removal. And the other thing is very interesting, that is in the positive space, the quality of ideas were more useful, and in the negative space, even people were more novel. So the novelty is coming from their ideas, but they are not very like big difference, but is a quite difference between these two like people in these two groups. And this shows the like difference, the whole idea and whole result of my research on that experiment. That shows actually 1, 2, 3, 4 is 4 techniques that I use, creativity techniques, and I use them as a dimension of climate, like how people are playful in different spaces, how people trust each other, or how dynamism of the space could help them to engage to the task. And I found that in data gathering, people in the positive space in blue and the negative space with red. The positive space, people have more scores in every dimension of climate. Only in the conflict, they have less conflict. That is, you can see the conflict is the same. In the second task that was brainstorming is again the same, but the distance is between the positive space and the negative space was higher. So people act better in the positive space than negative space. And then in the third one is exactly like, the difference is coming to a bit like the same and similar to each other, but still the positive space have some higher scores in terms of creative climate. And in the fourth one, that is desktop walkthrough, I bring some like Lego and plasticine to the two spaces. People's, it's very interesting to find that people's in negative space have like more passion and more, because it's a huge change for them. Everything was very like neutral and everything was very like close. So when you bring the color and some artifacts to them, they started to connect with them, and they completely changed the dimension of their creative climate, even more than the positive space. Because in positive space, after like 10 minutes, after 2 tasks, people become bored. They were blind of the spaces. They used to the space. So even in the best space, like what I show you, in the best places, after a while, your mind is a bit like blind from the out. So it's from macro space, and you are focusing more on micro space. That micro space is something that you work with, like the artifacts or post-it note or something that you interact with that, or more people-oriented than the whole space. So the whole space, even in the fancy space that I designed for here, because people used to that, become bored. And the result shows that negative space act better. So this is the positive space and negative space for the fourth task, that is desktop walkthrough, and people make their solution for that design problem as a 3D model. And here people look at their face, like the emotion change completely. And but actually I bought coffee and chocolate and everything for the first group, and nothing for the second group, because I wanted to make it more positive and make this one more negative. But still, here people have more fun and passion, and their ideas were better than this group. So lesson that I learned was positive space. By the time the productivity of people coming down, and it's because the place, when they come to the space, the positive space, some of them take off their shoes, they said, oh, it's very homey. But by the time they're used to the space, okay, it's a lot of color. And because the Lego and plasticine is the same, it's not a big change for them, so they become bored. Maybe the other change, the negative change, maybe help them. I don't know, maybe another experiment shows that. But for this, I learned that time is very important and change is very important. So change that engage people, not any kind of change. Because I had some experiment after that I used some changes by slides, shows to people, but because people don't interact with their slides, they become, annoyed by their slides and some sound effect. But here, this study shows that time is very important, even in a really fancy space. When people doing the task from macro space, at first the emotion change, but by the time and when they focusing on the task, the emotion change and they become blind to the space, and they are more onto the task, and they are more focusing and flow in the task. So, and the other things is effect of different creativity techniques in creative climates. Because different techniques, like I told you, the desktop walkthrough have different effects, because it has artifact and people become more playful by that. And the other thing is it might be helpful to introduce ongoing changes in order to maintain people's interest and activation levels. So if we want to keep people engaged and activated, it's better to make some changes that is engage them and interact with that change. That is part of the technique of creativity. Because people, after like 2 techniques or 2 brainstorming, become really bored, or even one. So you should bring some changes to the spaces. And the other thing is surprise, very important, like surprise, change, and creativity. What I learned is surprise and joy is 2 emotions that people are really like, by that, become really activated. And when they are activated, they can make more connection in their mind, and they are more like, they are come up with more ideas. So designing physical environment to support creativity over continuous design process need to encourage surprise for people, because when I go to the room, bring the coffee and chocolate for them, it's a small stimuli, but it changed the space, okay? And when I bring the Lego and plastic into that space, so each space, even the best space that I showed you, even in Google, each month they have some changes, even very simple change. They put like some flower here, and then they change the color. So change is very important for like environment to make people surprised every day. And my future work is changing in the space to create surprise and joy. So the other studies that I've done, I wanted to make some surprise for people and some joy that makes them more activated, but is not from this study. And I've done some study that is coming up in another paper. And creativity techniques like brainstorming and different types of creativity techniques is part of environment. So we should be aware of which kind of technique we use in the space, and we can connect the technique to the space, and people can interact with the space and the technique. And the other study I wanted to go through that, and I've done that 6 months ago, is a space for divergent and convergent thinking. So I made 2 different spaces. That one is more focusing for more like very simple minimal design, and one is full of objects and different different shapes and colors and different things to make people more like engaged into the environment. And this is for divergent thinking, and one for conversion, that is more like focusing. And I found really interesting and complicated data from there, because I put a control group, and then so I had 3 groups and huge data, so I should manage to just come up with a simple way of telling my story to people. And emotion that's produced by environment could promote creativity outcomes. Could promote, but it depends on the time and change and people. Because the people in negative space, even, some of them, some groups, even they made some fun with the really sad pictures. There was a war picture, and they made some fun by that, and they made a story by that. So it's very interesting to see how people connect, even with the different environments. They connect the different environment differently, as you feel different in different things that I show you. And this is my award. And this is the end. Thank you.